The theme that we were given was some problematic aspects of the Christian Jubilee, and suggestions were made in parentheses about indulgences and pilgrimages. Our talk will be in two parts. There's a bit of overlap between them, but not too much, I hope. The biblical Jubilee was not associated especially with travel. Pilgrimages to Jerusalem were regular events independently of the Jubilee. The liberation, if you will, of the land and of indentured servants and the forgiveness of debts represented the willingness to start over. They had nothing to do with pilgrimage. In the Christian Jubilee, on the other hand, the great symbolic gesture is the pilgrimage. Ideally, it is to Rome or the Holy Land. It finds a sort of culmination in the sign of passing through the holy door, which also represents a new beginning, especially in this year of mercy. Across all religions and societies, probably the most famous of pilgrimages is to Mecca. It has become a byword, a symbol. It has become a byword or a symbol used to indicate the destination of all kinds of devotees. Are there any golfers here?
No.
Where does every golfer want to go? St. Andrews in Scotland. That is the Mecca of golfers. Opera lovers. Where is the Mecca? La Scala in Milan. Baseball. Cooperstown, New York, where baseball began. Those are all the Mecca of those devotees. In short, it is the one place where the true devotee hopes to go before dying. Christian pilgrimage needs to be more, much more than that. Otherwise, it can take on a fundamentally secular character. Similarly, when you go to Jerusalem or Bethlehem or Rome or Assisi, you will find religious souvenir shops everywhere. From that point of view, La Salette has an advantage because it is too far away, too high up, and so there's only the one gift shop. That, of course, might be a disadvantage as well, because shrines need financial support to carry out their mission. The great pilgrimages of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance were, I think, very single-minded and do not seem to have been much associated with tourism. In our world, in our time, it is hard to avoid commercialization of the Jubilee. It is no longer the arduous penitential journey. The challenge to us is to help pilgrims rediscover also the penitential dimension of Jubilee and pilgrimage. In this respect, La Salette, with its call to reconciliation, has a genuine advantage. I now pass the word to Father Corriveau. You want to just...
The mic.
Oh, I can go there.
The mic is full.
I'll pick up from where Rene left off with the question of indulgences. In Misericordiae Vultus, that bowl of indiction of the extraordinary Jubilee of Mercy, Pope Francis devoted just a few brief lines to the question of indulgences. He didn't go into details at all. He simply situated the question in the context of indulgence on the part of the Father, who through the bride of Christ, and this is a quote, reaches the pardoned sinner and frees him or her from every residue left by the consequences of sin, closing the quotation mark. The Pope places all this in the context of God's forgiveness, and again to quote from the Misericordiae Vultus, God's forgiveness which knows no bounds, but which rather, again a quote, he never tires of forgiving in ways that are continually new and surprising. Close the quotation. And let me return to the topic that Rene addressed when he spoke of pilgrimages. The Pope speaks of pilgrimages in Misericordiae Vultus, but he makes the point that every pilgrimage is a symbol of the journey each of us makes in this life. In fact, he says, life itself is a pilgrimage. And a human being, and he uses the Latin word, is a viator, traveling along the road, making his or her way to the desired destination. Now, pointedly, he authorized the opening of a holy door in every diocese throughout the world, as well as at shrines and in other accessible locations, and most notably, even in prisons. In this way, virtually everyone in the world can make a pilgrimage during this Jubilee year without the hardships and the expenses often associated with past Holy Year pilgrimages. The fact is, Pope Francis does not focus on indulgences, pilgrimages, or any tangential aspects of Christian jubilees. He has one focus: mercy. Clearly, that should be our focus too. Because both the Jubilee of Mercy and the 170th anniversary of the apparition point us in that same direction. But we were asked to examine potential problems. Well, there is one potential problem that perhaps we participants in this symposium would do well to take seriously. The Commission gave specific guidelines for our presentations. We were asked to approach this Jubilee and the anniversary in a way that reflects real life in our own country and in the world. And also with an eye to possible effects on our religious life in our ministry today. Now, if we are serious in our determination to reflect real life in our respective countries and in the world, and if we are equally committed to making a concrete impact on our La Salette religious life and ministry today, there is one problem worth tackling from the outset. It's the proverbial potential problem of the missed opportunity. The 170th La Salette anniversary is an obvious reminder of who and what the then Bishop of Grenoble, Philibert de Brouillard, conceived us to be when he penned the foundational pastoral letter of May 1st, 1852. And I quote from his letter, "These priests, and we can add later brothers, shall be called the missionaries of Our Lady of La Salette. Their institution and existence shall be like the shrine itself, an eternal monument, a perpetual remembrance of Mary's merciful apparition." To the bishop and to us, hopefully, the apparition was all about mercy. In the bishop's eyes, we were always going to be heralds of mercy in response to Mary's clarion call, "Make this message known to all my people." Significantly, Pope Francis launched the Jubilee of Mercy, but a specific reference to the gospel that is so dear to us. And I quote from his bull of benediction. "At the foot of the cross, Mary, together with John, the disciple of love, witnessed the words of forgiveness spoken by Jesus. That supreme expression of mercy toward those who crucified him shows us the point to which the mercy of God can reach. Mary attests to that mercy of God, and she attests that that mercy knows no bounds and extends to everyone without exception. And I close the Pope's citation here. This year, we celebrate that special moment 170 years ago when Mary attested once again to the depth and the universality of the mercy of the Son of God. It's after that she issued her challenge. Make this known to all my people. That's the challenge we accepted. The day of our respective professions of vows as missionaries of Our Lady of La Salette. 2 brief lines in the Bull of Indiction sum up the very purpose of this 2016 Jubilee of Mercy. The Pope puts it this way: the time has come for the Church to take up the joyful call of mercy once more. And he says, precisely because mercy is the force that reawakens us to new life and instills in us the courage to look to the future with hope. Now, if we're reflecting what's happening in our own country and in the world, doesn't this make so much sense to us who live in a country and in a world that's desperately searching for a more credible hope, a more credible path, rather, to a hopeful future than the one that has led us to just ever sharper, that makes so much sense to us who live in a country, in a world, that is so desperately searching for a more credible path to a hopeful future than the one that has led us to just ever sharper divisions and ever more senseless polarizations. Pope Francis has a motto: miserando atque eligendo. It can be loosely yet accurately translated: having experienced mercy myself, I own my own calling to bring mercy to others. Maybe that should be our model too. Recent events in our own country and beyond amply validate Pope Francis' sense of urgency, often expressed as a kind of mantra. Mercy cannot wait. This providential conjuncture of the 2016 Jubilee of Mercy and the 170th anniversary of Mary's merciful apparition present us with a blessed and fortuitous opportunity. Could it even be a kairos moment for us, who are missionaries of Our Lady of La Salette? Questions that are worth pondering.
Thank you, Rene and Ernest, for your insightful